What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome back to another episode of Remakes with my co-host Scott Harding from the You Run podcast.
Hello, I love remakes. I can't help it. This is the best thing for me because I just get to say how great remakes are all the time.
Yeah. You were the only person I thought of when I decided I wanted to do this as a series. I was like, if anyone's going to be a good one, it would be Scott.
Saying that, this one is probably the one that I won't scream about as loud.
It'll be good for us, though, because the last two we were pretty on the same terms on. So this will be good for us to be so drastically different, rather. So today we are talking the 2010 horror movie remake of The Wolfman. And I don't remember. It's been so long since we filmed it. I'm trying to remember what our format was. I know we talked about like our rating, and then we just kind of like jump into generals, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool.
So I'll let you rate it first, and then I'll go.
Okay. So, The Wolfman 2010 is my favorite remake of all time. It's my number one. Evil Dead is my number two. And you know, I'm like a big Universal Monsters fan.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously so for me out of a 10, this is I'm so nervous to tell you. He's gonna like fall out on the floor and like, okay, so this is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow, okay. We're very, 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 very different. For me, this is a strong and solid 5.
Okay.
Out of 10.
That's not as bad. If you'd said like a 2, I don't know.
No. It's definitely not. It's distinctly average. It kind of done everything I wanted a remake to do, but kind of no more. Okay. I've got a real hatred for CGI, and this is like the CGI playground of Universal. I don't know. I hadn't seen the original, which I felt really stupid for when you said, let's do the Wolfman. I went, yeah, that's a great idea. I better watch the Wolfman. So I watched them back to back, and I went from the Wolfman. I was like, this is brilliant. I love all the effects. I love the tone. I love everything about this. And then I went into the remake, and it was like, I don't know, it was such a stark difference. It was like being smacked in the face with a shovel. I was like, whoa, what's this? The casting is incredible.
Yeah.
The casting are Oscar-worthy performances across the board. The acting's fantastic. It's just everything around it just didn't fit for me. I don't know why.
I'm thinking because like, okay, so this is definitely a film that, when I first started my social media stuff, before I officially came to YouTube and started a channel, I did for the first month of October that I had my accounts created, I did a 30-second horror movie review every day for the entire month of October. And so this was one of the ones that I did because I loved it so much. And I went and looked into a lot of like the behind the scenes, the background stuff, like the stuff that happened or facts about the movie, whatever, because I was very interested to know more about it as a remake. And so one of the things that I learned that I thought was interesting, you hated, which is fine. But one of the other things was I thought it was all CGI. The first time I ever watched it, and I don't hate CGI. I do prefer practical effects, especially when you're talking about Universal Monsters. I mean, that's all there was back then. So like you kind of have this expectation of like, kind of wow me with your modern like practical effects because that's what they did back then, which is great, except for this was a very highly CGI. It's very obviously CGI in so many parts. But I was interested to learn that a lot of the parts I thought were CGI were not. So there's some sequences where he's jumping from building to building. And there's one in particular that really got me that it was practical because I genuinely would have never thought this was. There's that one scene where he goes up and down and he jumps on top of, I think it's like a police officer or something. Yes. Yeah. That's practical effects. That's not CGI.
Wow. Okay.
That scene was done practically with a dummy. See,
that's great, but the problem is I think a lot of films fall into this trap where they put so much CGI in. When they do something that's practical, you just kind of it just disappears. Yeah.
And then another time that a lot of practical effects was used in combination with CGI, which is also like gray because sometimes that doesn't work and sometimes it makes it look more cheesy than it should because you're combining the two, is the final fight sequence. That scene has both. But because it has both, you know, it typically just like, oh, it just looks like CGI. So, but yeah, I'm a huge Universal Monsters fan. So I think like I actually went into this pretty skeptical, but one of the main reasons I went and saw it when I did, because I saw this in theaters. I went and saw it in theaters because of the cast. I mean, it's got Hugo Weaving, Emily Blunt, Anthony Hopkins, and Benicio del Toro is someone I will watch anything if he's in it. Him and Anthony Hopkins both. Anything they touch, I will watch. And to your point, like they are just phenomenal. Like capturing that emotion that the original, you know, Lon Chaney captures when he comes in at his brother's funeral in the original Wolfman, and just that like raw emotion. Like Benicio del Toro does such a fantastic job of capturing that the acting was like definitely like a perk for me.
Yeah, the acting across this is amazing. Anthony Hopkins' bond with his son in this is it's a believable father-son relationship.
It is.
He's nurturing, but also incredibly harsh with his son. It's very and literally the entire cast, everything in this is fantastic. If they were to remake this again today, I would take the same cast and the same story. With a different visual arts director.
Okay.
And I think I would love it. It's like movies for me are a feast for my eyes. That's kind of where all my enjoyment from movies comes from. The vast majority of what I'm looking at. And with this, what I was looking at was like a lot of the backdrops, I think that's where I struggled, where you've got the bits where he's jumping from building to building. That looks pretty good. But when they've like overly enhanced the background and made the moon, and I'm kind of like, oh, it doesn't need this. It just give me a sky backdrop, some rolling clouds. That's all I need. I don't need this big, ginormous, oversized moon with clouds moving quickly across it in the opposite way to he's jumping. You're just you're going a bit too far. Where if you look at the original Wolfman, everything's dialed right back. It's so contrasting for me, and it's still a good movie. It's just it doesn't look right.
Yeah, I liked the way that it looked. I like that when we're in the house, it's like this gothic horror story, and then I like when we're in the town, we're like, oh, how like just you know like Salem's Lot, or like how many like small town like dark blues and grays, and like I was like I loved the color palette for this movie. And I think one of the other things that I love about this one is the kills. They're so like gorific and they're fantastic. My favorite one is the claws through the chin. That's like my favorite kill. I'm like, oh, like that made my mouth hurt. Like when I saw that part. But I loved the gore in this and the lore, you know, with the like creature in the cave and the story of the family. Like, I don't know, this hits so many things for me. So this is a film. I'm not really big into physical media. I don't own a lot of, you know, DVDs and stuff like that. Not anymore. I used to be like really into it back when they were like still really popular. And, but this was one that I like paid full price for, which may not mean much to many, but it's a big deal. Like I paid full price for this when I was waiting tables. Like I paid like $30 for this stupid movie when it came out because I loved it so much. And I don't think that so it's interesting because as like a Universal Monsters fan, I think that I felt like this probably as a remake definitely goes more into like new territory versus like a balance of the old and the new and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I think, and maybe it's just the casting, I don't know, all of those things that I liked. I loved the music. The music is so good. Love the soundtrack.
The soundtrack's really good. I think what it is, I think for me, so one of the movies that I really love is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
And this gives me all those kind of vibes, but doesn't hit it quite as well. And I think whenever I see something that's kind of set in this gothic horror world, my instant comparison is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Okay.
And because they spent so much time, I mean, pretty much everything near as damn it, and that is practical. And you can see it's practical.
Yes.
When I compare anything of this sort of time period to that, I kind of go, it looks, no, it's, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the movie, and I could sit through and watch it again. It's not like it's I can't stomach
set it on fire.
But I think given the choice, I think I would pick up the original again, because I genuinely enjoyed the original. And
you guys need to watch all of them. You need to see all of them. There's 26, 25 or 26 films for the Universal monsters.
Yeah, so we've done Creature from the Black Lagoon. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love Wolfman. So
beautiful. Wolfman's amazing.
I need to keep diving in. I think I want to do Frankenstein next, because
yeah,
that's one that I've toyed with. It's one of those things though that
brilliant.
When I go to watch something, I go, oh, Universal Monsters, and then right next to it there'll be like Cabin in the Woods or something. It's like, I'm going to watch that because I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, that's true. I think that I loved it, and I also am like a sucker for asylum stuff, like you know, so like the whole sequences, the couple sequences we see in the asylum. This one of my favorite parts of the whole film is the part where he's in the chair and they're like talking shit and they're like, huh, he's crazy. And then he's like, I'm going to kill every person in this room. Like,
that scene, I'll give you, that scene is fantastic, where he starts to turn and then all the straps go and you see all of they get a shot where you get all of the auditorium and they all at the same time go, oh shit. We're all going to die.
Yep. And he's still got his back turned and he's like, blah, 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 doctor stuff. And then everyone's like backing up, like getting out of there.
Yeah, crawling up the wall going, that's nice. We're leaving now.
And oh my God. And the patient outside the door won't open it. He's like, I think it's locked. I love that part. That's my favorite part of the whole movie.
I think I agree with you. I do love that. And the fact that when you watch that scene, that entire auditorium, they all move in unison. They're all kind of like, oh. And then, it's very well shot. It's very well shot. It's very well acted.
Yes.
It's just not for me.
So what did you think of the, you know, I guess that's a bit of a love story between Lawrence and, oh gosh, Emily Blunt's character. I just blanked on her name. Like there's like that moment, you know, at the end when she's like, it's me. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not like a rom-com person. Like I'm not into romance, but I am kind of like a bit of a romantic in like real life, like away from my film entertainment. And so I was just like, oh, maybe they'll live happily ever.
Right up until he eats her.
And I was just like, and then of course she does what she has to do. And because he can only be released by someone who loves him. And I'm like, I knew she loved him. Like,
the thing is that those sort of storylines normally tend to be the overriding storyline. So that's one of the problems I've got with Dracula, that is the overriding story throughout. Where in this, that's kind of a subplot.
Yes.
That's kind of everything.
It's just there under the.
It's just there, and that's not the main focus. And I quite like that. I like it when, because that's it kind of starts with that subplot, and that subplot kind of dips in and out, and then comes back at the end. And I liked that. It went full circle.
So, you know, there's two versions of the remake. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
So, how did your version start? What was the introduction to? How did you meet Lawrence in your version?
Lawrence, we met as he was coming back to his brother's funeral. Okay.
So in the one that I have seen, and the one that I saw in theaters, and the one that I own, we actually meet him as an actor on stage.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't meet him as an actor on stage.
So this is not going to drastically change your opinion. I understand that. But what I do think is like, I think that opening is better because, to me, one of the things that I love about Lawrence is his development as a character and kind of how his emotions change. Because when he first comes home, at least in the other version, I don't remember if it's the exact same way in the other one or not, but in the one I'm familiar with, he comes home and he's very theatrical. He's very like, I'm here to blah, 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 blah. You know, he's very theatrical. And then he sees his brother and things start to change and he changes and he's like this gradual emotional shift in him. And the reason I like the other opening better is because Emily's character actually goes to see him in New York. She goes to see him while he's on stage. And it does two things. It shows us how separated he is from the world that is his family life and who he's become. But it also gives a very different depiction of their original, like their like initial connection. and it changes the way you view him coming home, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So like I rewatched this because I talked about this on Josh's channel, Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. And when we talked about it, I was like, I should probably rewatch it. I haven't seen it this year. And so I rewatched it and I was like, I don't remember it starting like this. There's a couple scenes that are different. And I think it's the beginning. And then there's something else that's taken out. The dream sequences, those are shorter in the one you probably saw. So
yeah,
there's
they weren't
stuff
long.
kind of missing. But I think that other introduction to him and why can I Gwen's character, when you meet Lawrence and Gwen in the theater setting, it sets a very different tone for him going home to find his brother. And I just feel like it sucks that there's even another version where it doesn't start like that.
Yeah, I didn't see that version.
Yeah. I had a feeling. I was like, I bet he didn't. And again, I don't think that one thing is going to make you give it a 10 out of 10. I understand that.
No,
but
no, it may have got it an extra point.
Yeah, it does. I think it just sets the tone for
well, I'll give it a bonus point based on how you described it. It can have a 6.
A sort of like faded out extra point. Like
yeah. It's like a 5 and a 6. You can kind of see if you squint.
You can almost see the extra dash mark.
Yeah.
In the right light. Yeah. I'm like a big Universal Monsters fan. I love those films. They are very special to me. My dad is really into like old school cheesy horror. So that's where I saw all of those. I'm obviously like a really big, like Frankenstein is like my number 1 everything. Frankenstein is actually on my influential horror list. And so Wolfman is a close second for me as far as that universe. Creature and Wolfman are very neck and neck for me because they're both beautiful films. I love them so much.
Yeah.
I think that story-wise, Wolfman goes up, but I think visually Creature is like, it's hard because they like, they hit different points for me. But I love this remake. I don't care what you say. 6 be damned. It's a 10 out of 10. I love this one. And I'm telling you, I think the gore is a lot of it because I loved when this movie just didn't spare. Like you get to see all of the grit. And I love that. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hold back. It's definitely got good points. It's not a bad movie. It's just not for me.
It's okay to be wrong, Scott.
It's okay for me to have my wrong opinion.
That's right. Whenever the episode airs, it's just me talking about how great the movie is. There's like no other screen.
It's just been cut down the middle.
Oh, I'm kidding. I'd never do that. No, I definitely, I think it's interesting because I know a lot of people that have seen this, but have not seen any of the originals. And I do think it's better to have the original to compare it to.
Yeah.
I think you can't talk about this film and not talk about the roots of where it came from. Like you can't do that. I feel like that's like disrespectful.
Yeah, which is why when you said let's do it, I was kind of like, oh, great. And then in prep for this, I was like, shit, I need to watch 2 movies.
I didn't even think about, I did know that. Well, I didn't know necessarily that you hadn't seen Wolfman, but I did know that you haven't really dived a lot into the Universal monster movies. I didn't even think about that. When you said yes, I was like, oh, maybe it's one you've seen.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I have now.
That's the commitment Scott has for the show, ladies and gents. He's willing to sit through 2 movies.
Yeah, and on a separate note, the original Wolfman is a 9 out of 10.
Yes. Well, see, the original Wolfman is a 10 out of 10 for me too. But
yeah,
I don't have very many of the Universal ones that are not. Some of them get a little goofy, but all of the originals they're really high ranking for me. Yeah. I love them. The original is very good. So if you haven't seen that one and you're watching this, you should go watch the original as well. If you have not seen it, I do recommend it. Even now, they're very effective films, the originals. So
yeah, definitely, because they play on different things that modern movies don't, and I can't explain that. You just go and watch one. It's
just different. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of held my breath when you guys watched Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I was like,
so did we.
I know. I think Mark said something about being like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have anything else to add. That's all I have for Wolfman.
No, I think that's it for me as well.
I think I talked the whole time. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I love this movie. Okay. Well, so the last episode that we did, by the time this comes out, will have been the October episode. So by now you've probably already watched our cover of Halloween. If you didn't, go watch that. And then the others if you haven't done so. And then we already know what we're doing for December, but we're not going to tell you.
No, we're definitely not going to tell you. That's a surprise.
That's a surprise. Cool. Well, that's all I have for this one. So that's our thoughts on the 2010 Wolfman. Scott and I both agree it's a 10 out of 10.
6.
A sort of 6.
It's a sort of 6. That's what you got.
Oh, geez. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys in the next Remakes episode. Have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you then.
See you later.